It's AM 650's The Law Show, a comprehensive look at everything you need to know about the law. Now, here's Stirling Fox.
Well, good morning, and welcome to The Law Show here on AM 650. It's good to have you with us this morning. The breakdown of a relationship is difficult and confusing, dealing with emotional turmoil while trying to find your way through the maze of rules that govern family and divorce law, sorting out new living arrangements, and making decisions that will have serious financial consequences for the future. Well, it's not easy for anyone. Today on The Law Show, we're focusing on family law and particularly its impact on child support. Joining us in the studio are Rain Henderson and Kevin Heinrichs from Henderson Heinrichs LLP. Nice to see you both. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having us here at Stirling.
Well, now tell us a little bit about Henderson Heinrichs, and we'll start with Mr. Henderson. With Rain Henderson, and you two have been partners since the 90s.
That's correct. Kevin and I met when we were working at a law firm together in the early 90s, about 94, 95. We decided that we would do better by ourselves and started Henderson Heinrichs in 1997. And we have been business partners since that time.
Okay.
We have grown in size from just the two of us and one overworked secretary to basically being a national firm with offices in Vancouver and office
now Toronto. Okay.
As of last September, correct.
Right. I suppose by way of flawed introductions, I should introduce you then as Ms. Heinrichs, Kevin.
Thank you so much.
And then we're all even, and I just look like a complete dolt. It's good to have you both here. Kevin, tell us a little bit more about the firm. It's always been about family law, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. Both Rain and I started off right from the very start at a family law firm, and found that we really enjoyed the work, found that we were adept at the work, that it was something that we were good at. And when we decided to go off on our own, that was a natural fit. And we decided that the firm that we would be opening up would be just family law, and we've kept that ever since. That's our only focus.
Right. When you were a law student, you knew you wanted to do family law. When you got into the business, you kind of felt leaned or pulled in that direction?
Absolutely not.
Oh, really?
Absolutely not.
So you just kind of fell into it?
Well, I articled at a very large firm. It was Russell and Dumoulin. I wanted to be corporate litigation. That was the pinnacle of
Sure.
what it could be.
Mm-hmm.
But then the recession hit in the early 90s. I came out in 1992, and there were no jobs. So I went to a small firm, got a legal aid billing number, and I joined a firm where it was eat what you kill. I took on any client I could, and you learn in the trenches. And it was an exposure to law that I hadn't ever seen before, but it gave you everything. It gave you contract work, it gave you litigation work, and it gave you personal contact, something that you weren't going to get if you were doing insolvency work or corporate commercial litigation.
Of course.
And that really resounded with, I think, how Kevin and I have stayed in this business, because we get to see people. You're sitting and talking to somebody across the table about their lives, and you're going to try to help them in a very awful situation that they're in.
Perhaps, Kevin, not as remunerative as negotiating free trade deals with foreign countries on behalf of governments, as some lawyers do, but that's not a lot of people going on in that.
I was about to say,
you're a people guy, aren't you? This is about helping people, isn't it?
For me, there are those Stirling far more family law clients than there are foreign governments to work with.
Well, that's fortunate, isn't it?
From that perspective, we have a lot of people that need our help. And when I first started off with this area of law, that was the thing that I really enjoyed. I didn't want to go I didn't know what I wanted to do when I first came out of law school. I was fine with exploring areas of law, but what I found was that I wanted to deal with people.
Okay.
And I didn't want to simply sit and deal with paperwork and not talk to anyone and not help anybody out. And I found that family law is exactly in my wheelhouse. It is an area of law where you talk to a person directly,
Sure.
where you're given the opportunity to go to court if need be, where you're given the opportunity to mediate, to deal with other lawyers all the time. Mm-hmm. And I continue to enjoy this area of law.
Rain, family law is an area in which I would imagine, unlike most other areas of legal activity, there is an emotional level that people function on while dealing with family law matters that I would doubt is replicated anywhere else. How do you divorce yourself from all of that emotion and all of the tendency to get caught up in all of that stuff? I know you've been at it for a while, so you've figured out a technique. Tell us about it.
It's one of basically recognizing that everybody is responsible for the decisions that they make in their lives, and that while I can help somebody, I'm not responsible for what got them into my office.
Right.
I wasn't there. But I'm going to help them and get them to the point where they understand what they need to do to extricate themselves from an unfortunate situation or move forward and deal with how they're going to live together as separated spouses. And it is divorcing yourself. It's coming home and it's saying, I'm going to concentrate on my family now.
Right.
I think my kids would say otherwise because I'm always on that stupid phone checking emails and things like that. But you really have to say, no, it's at the end of the day, and I'll go back and I will look at this tomorrow or at 3 in the morning when I wake up and think about it. But you cannot get involved with your family law files to the point where you carry your client's burdens, because you will just not do the job you need to do.
Yeah, it doesn't help them in the least. I mean, I learned that when I was a little kid. My dad was a doctor, and he'd come home, and he would not carry his work burdens with him. And I found that so important when I was a kid to have a father who could concentrate.
Sure.
And I bring that there today. I mean, it doesn't help my clients for me to be stressed out all the time.
And you can't lose that objectivity, because while we are advocates for our clients,
Sure.
you can't just put the blinders on and see only that side that the client is presenting.
Right.
That's not our job. Our job is to look at it and say, okay, well, that's what you're telling me, but what objectively are we looking at? Because a judge isn't going to just sit and listen to me and say, of course, Miss Henderson, I hear it from your lips, therefore
Right.
it is.
It's absolute truth.
Yeah, and otherwise the clients wouldn't need the lawyer.
Sure.
If everything they saw was exactly what they needed, they wouldn't need us to tell them that.
Kevin, how much of the practice, how much of your time is spent sort of decompressing emotionally charged situations?
A good chunk of the time is dealt with, is taken up by decompressing. People come to family lawyers not because they're not stressed. This is an incredibly charged crisis type time for these people, and when they come in, a lot of the people first need to know that they are being protected, or that they are that there's some information, that there's a solution out there that they can eventually get. And
Right.
part of what we do to start with is letting the client know that and feel that, and that's the decompression that initially starts. Later on, once they understand what our strategy is, once they understand what the path is going to be or what path we are choosing, things are calmer, and we can have those conversations with the client.
Of course. Rain, when we who are not of the legal community have any issues with the law, no matter what area of the law, we are instantly completely confused.
Absolutely.
It is just not a comfortable, it's a really alien environment for any non-lawyer. So you throw that brush up with the law. Now we have to deal with the law, and on top of that, my personal life has just been ripped up into a million pieces. Talk about confused.
Confused, scared, frustrated, angry. Every myriad of emotion comes into our office, and invariably that first session is spent, like Kevin says, decompressing, letting you know we understand that you're not alone in this, that we're going to understand the emotionality of it, that we're going to consider that, but we're not going to let it guide our decisions. And sort of often people come with a family member or a friend in that first visit so that they can have some sort of second ear,
Sure.
which is really good. But for the most part, the first visit is more just about engaging and seeing if it's going to be a working relationship, because this is one of the more intimate relationships you have to have with somebody. Your family lawyer is going to hear stuff that you might not otherwise tell people.
Right.
And so we have to understand that this is there's privacy, that you're coming forward and you may be telling us for the first time, telling anybody for the first time, that you're in an abusive situation.
Yes, true.
And so, we can pick up very quickly whether or not there's a rapport. And at the end of the first meeting, what our goal is not to sign up the client, but to have the person leave and go, I feel better.
Right.
Thank you. And that's I don't care about whether they come back as a client. They feel better. They're a little bit more aware that they're not alone, that there's been other people that have gone through this, that you're going to survive.
Right.
That's one of the things I say. You will live through this. You know, we will get you through this. It's just how we do it. And
they're going to leave our office with more information than they came
Well,
in.
exactly.
That's
exactly.
really what it comes down
right,
to, right?
Right, and some sense at least of, well, at least now in this alien world of the law, I have a sense of where I am and what my path might be to sort this all out.
I find it very important when you have a relationship with a lawyer that it not be a lawyer who simply tells you what to do and expects you to follow the instructions,
Right.
and that is that. We do give instructions, and we will want our clients to do certain things because that's the path we've chosen.
Right.
But we want our clients to understand the why. We want them to know what's going on. It's their lives. They need to understand the process.
And also the fact that when it comes their turn, they too will give you instructions.
Yes.
To perform certain tasks
Absolutely.
or negotiate in a certain way.
In the end, it's the client's decision what they want to have happen.
It's just the end of March. It's been such a wet month. But it's also the anniversary of sorts for the Family Law Act in British Columbia, Rain. It's just a couple of weeks beyond a year that it was proclaimed in our province.
Yes.
How has this past year under the new family law been for the family law community?
From the perspective of counsel, it's been confusing because we have been taking things to court under the new act that have not been before judges.
Oh.
Judges are a little bit, uncertain as to what to do. On the property side of things, there's certainly that I think is more substantial on how the courts are going to be dealing with
And
property.
we'll get into the details of how that works in a little bit.
But insofar as the other sort of focus of this legislation was to keep resolutions out of court as much as possible, and to really focus on the opportunity for clients and people in family situations to use mediators, parenting coordinators, collaborative process that is designed to keep you out of the court.
Sure.
And so one of the things that Kevin and I have been able to do is hire the right people within our organization.
You've expanded your firm to accommodate this changing reality,
it's not just 2 lawyers anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You have 9 in
We're at
Vancouver?
9 lawyers.
It will be 10 in August.
Yeah, but 9 in Vancouver, and then
one
our
in
Toronto lawyer as well.
Okay. And so I was going to ask, because of the family law changes that Rain and I were just talking about, Kevin, there seems to be a new degree of emphasis on avoiding court wherever possible. Mediation and arbitration and collaborative processes are now there's more favor in that a way of doing business. What percentage of your firm is now occupied with addressing those new approaches?
The Family Law Act, when it came in, recognized that the family-related laws should be directed more towards children than should be directed towards adults.
Hear, hear.
And one of the corollaries of that, one of the things that came out of that was that they did recognize that it's never great for people to go and fight, and it's far better to at least try to negotiate an end to things before you get into the courtroom. It saves money for the province, quite frankly.
I'll bet.
It saves relationships because, the parents of children will continue to be parents of children,
That's
regardless whether they break up. And so when people come into our firm, you're finding we are exploring and trying to see whether or not mediation is something that will work, or arbitration is something that will work. And perhaps in 25-30% of the cases, that is the direction that the cases should go in.
Right.
In almost all the cases, a settlement will arise at some point. Very few cases actually go to a trial at the end of the day.
Right.
We try to make sure that the clients get the result that they need in the least acrimonious way possible.
Which is why you've added to the staff of your firm and bringing in people who specialize in this particular approach.
Exactly. We have Shalina Sayani, and she's a senior counsel, been with us for a long time. She is trained as a collaborative lawyer. She is trained as an arbitrator. She is a parenting coordinator. She is a mediator. She is basically the head of that branch of our firm.
Okay.
And then we have 2 junior lawyers that are sort of mentoring or menteeing under her. Mentoring? I don't know. Whatever, mentee, mentor.
They're studying
they're
hard.
studying
At her
hard,
knee.
and learning. And they will become part of the collaborative group. And because it's a different process, you have to actually contract in to be part of a collaborative group. You contract not to go to court.
Yes.
And I'm a bit jaded. I see some of the fallout of that because some of the clients I've got are the ones that have signed up for the contract, spent tens of thousands of dollars in the process, and it hasn't worked. And so I see the get me out of this. The collaborative process didn't work, but now Ms. Henderson helped me out of this.
Rain's the litigator, right?
I was just going to. Both of you two go to court.
We go to court,
but
yes.
Rain clearly enjoys it the most. But if you go through this process, we need to take a break. But just before we do, if you agree in advance to go through this arbitration or negotiation or mediation, this collaborative process, and as you said, Rain, you agree, therefore, not to go to court. So you go through the process and nothing gets resolved. What happens then? Do you get to go to court at the end of it?
You break the contract, you say that it's done, you fire your collaborative lawyers, you sign up new lawyers, you drop down another big retainer, and you start all over again.
Holy Moses.
Yep.
So you want to make sure that works unless you got more money than the Bank of Canada.
Yeah, keep in mind though, I mean, I don't want this to turn into sort of an anti-mediation, anti-collaborative.
Oh, no, of course not. No,
No,
precisely.
I mean, the fact is that in the vast majority of cases, these collaborative methods bring about results. Most people don't want to spend huge quantities of cash for no particular reason. Most people actually do want to save their money.
Right.
And
it comes down, I think, initially to the client screening. And is this the appropriate format?
That's exactly
because
right.
You can tell right off the bat whether a collaborative is going to work or not.
Sure. Interesting stuff. Let me take a quick break.
Sure.
Our guests in studio for the first of many visits, we hope, Rain Henderson and Kevin Heinrichs from Henderson Heinrichs LLP in Vancouver. This is The Law Show on AM 650, and we'll be back.
This is AM 650's The Law Show. There's more of the show still ahead.